Welcome to Bound by Books. I am writer Danielle Bannister, and I'm joined today by fellow writer Marianne Morea. Welcome, Marianne!
Hi, how are you? How you doing, Danielle?
I am hanging in there. I got my AC going. I've got four air conditioners in my house, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it. I
Nor
don't.
should you
I
be.
don't do heat well. I'm one of those people that don't do well in either extreme, and I will be very cranky if I'm hot, and only mildly annoyed if I'm cold. But
Hence my iced tea.
I am wildly angry if I'm hot and sweaty. So it's really for everybody's safety in my house that the air conditioners are running. It is my AC bill. I know it's my fault, but
And like me with coffee in the morning. Yeah,
we all have our things.
my kids used to be like, "Are you going to be a nice mommy or a bad mommy?" And
Let me
I
have
look
my
over at the
coffee and
coffee
we'll find
pot.
out.
If I have my coffee, you don't have anything to worry about.
That's right.
So,
So
what are we talking today? What are we talking about today?
today I thought it would be fun to talk about finding your ideal sort of pre-release reader, right? And that can be a tricky thing, but before we dived into sort of trying to find that perfect reader, I thought it might be helpful to sort of try to define the types of readers that an author can have prior to the book going out to launch, because there are a lot of different types of eyeballs that can go onto the manuscript outside of the editor
Oh yeah.
before it hits the show. So I thought maybe we
hmm
should define maybe that first. So the first one I can think of off the top of my head that I will use from time to time on a book is a critique partner. So what would you classify a critique partner to be for you?
A peer,
Yeah.
an author peer, because you can't expect even a career reader, someone who lives for books, who will devour 7 books or more a week. You can't expect them to know the nuances of the writer craft. They know what they like. They
Yeah.
might be able to tell you if a sentence is clunky, or if something doesn't add up, or maybe they just didn't like what you did with the character, but they're not going to help you with the mechanics of writing. They're not going to help you with your plot development, with your character development, and pacing. That type of a thing. Whether or not
They're not going to be able to say, "Hey, your midpoint, you need to make that stronger." They're not going to be able to sort of maybe pinpoint those things
right,
that a fellow author or a colleague, maybe even an editor, friend, maybe isn't editing your manuscript, but somebody who understands at least the craft of
correct.
story construction is what I would consider a critique partner. And I will use a critique partner generally when I'm in the first draft of a manuscript and something feels off to me. Like if I can't quite put my finger on why I'm not feeling the story, or something just doesn't, it feels to me, and I don't know what it is. I can't figure out what it is. That's when I'll tap a critique partner, and I've been tapped as critique partners from my author friends too. It's like, "Can you just read this for me and tell me what is," because usually they will see it right away. But, "Oh, you didn't do this, you dummy." Oh yeah, you're right. I didn't.
Yeah, the question that I always, because I haven't had a critique partner in a very, very long time. Usually it's because most of my author friends that I have hit up, which I have not hit up you yet,
You have
um,
not.
is that they're just busy with their own manuscripts and just don't have the time, or they don't want to
Absolutely.
inadvertently, if they write in the same genre as me, they don't want their own manuscripts to be inadvertently influenced by something that they've read that's mine, which you have to respect, because subliminally it can happen. It really can. It can happen, and it's to no fault of theirs. They're not. It's not like they're setting out to do something that's similar or
Right.
what have you. But it just it can happen. So
And it can
yeah,
be hard finding a critique partner too, because you sort of want to try to find somebody who is along the same lines as your genre, because they're going to be able to say, if you're writing romance and you haven't introduced your love interest right away, they're going to be able to know, like, oh, the reason that this isn't reading right is because you don't have your hero here. But if the critique partner is, a sci-fi person, they might not pick up on that. So it is
right.
helpful also to try to find somebody who is sort of like within your genre. I actually have a critique partner that I work with now. We meet maybe quarterly, Um, we don't write in the same genre, so it does kind of complicate our feedback a little bit, but we're able to give
Mm.
some feedback about plot and story and character stuff. But there are some things that, I know each of us are not able to really hit that nail on the head of certain things just because we don't write in the exact same genre.
Yeah, I mean, and it's can be a little intimidating to
Yeah.
approach a fellow author, especially somebody who it might be a little higher in rank than you are, to say, "Hey, will you look at my stuff?" Because you don't want to sound like you're coming hat in hand and doing the "we're not worthy," salami salami baloney dance, that type of a thing. So I I just aged myself totally with there, because that is a total
Hey,
Bugs Bunny
I
that is
understood the
total Bugs
reference, so
Bunny
you
thing
aged me too.
from the 1940s. So not that I'm that old, but anyway,
We didn't have a lot on TV back then.
yeah. Anyway, but it can be a little intimidating, and then also if somebody is at the same rank of you, or a newer author, you might feel like, okay, what could they bring to the table?
Right.
So, but
They
you
might
never.
not have the best advice because
Right.
they're brand new. So yes, critique partners are, I think, very hard to find. But if you can find somebody that you click with, and it's a give and take, right? So you can't just always be asking for feedback and then never give it. I mean, it
Right.
has to be a sort of
Absolutely.
a mutual exchange.
Right. It does. It does. And I've had author friends of mine who have a circle, like a critique partnering
Yeah.
circle, where they'll all take, a stab at something that somebody has, and then they'll meet, and they'll discuss and so forth. And then if somebody has something that they want to say that maybe they feel might be less than complimentary, they'll message you privately, this stuff sucks. No.
So what
So
I do whenever I'm a critique partner with somebody, and this is something that I learned in grad school, and it's kind of stuck with me the whole time, is I do a PPQ. I do a praise. I'll praise their writing in some way. I'll do a polish, something that I think that if they worked on, that could really shine up the manuscript, and then a cue, a question that I have about something, and I'll just kind of cycle through and sort of make my comments according to that. Is this a praise, a polish, or a question? If it's not one of those three, I don't need it. you
yeah.
know. So
Well, it
I
all goes
mean,
back to the same thing. If you can't be constructive
right?
and
Yeah,
polite about your criticism, then don't
because
say
this is
anything at
an
all.
early draft that you're
Right.
showing your critique
Right.
partner.
I,
Usually, it's
I
usually
mean,
not the final manuscript.
no, of course not. And you don't want somebody who's just going to blow sunshine up your butt. You know what I
right,
mean? You want somebody who's going to give you constructive feedback, because
right,
that's how we all grow in our craft from the time that we first, you know,
and that's why
open
we
up the
ask
first quote.
for it
Well,
because
we
we
open up
know
the
something
first
is.
quotation marks in the first dialogue. So yeah, critique partner is definitely something that I would really be interested in doing again, especially now that my breakneck speed writing will be coming to an end at the end of the month.
Well, we'll talk about the timing of things too in a minute, but that's a good point. I want to circle back to that.
Yeah, because there's
Um,
no way I would have time right now.
yeah, there's a factor. Some people don't use critique partners at all, and that's fine. I don't for every single manuscript, only the ones that are the problem children. Um, some people employ what they call an alpha reader, which is like the first pair of eyeballs on something. That may or may not go to an author friend. It may go to, a very trusted reader who knows your stuff in and out and can tell you in a heartbeat, yes, I love this character. No, this sucks. I want to see more of this or less of that. It might be, like
Yes,
your biggest sort of fan reader that you allow access, that early
yes,
sort of access
yes.
to.
That's
That's
what
how
I
I define an alpha reader. But
I agree with
yeah,
that, because there's, some people say, there's no difference and everything, but no, there is. An alpha reader, in order to be considered an alpha reader, number one, they have to be a super fan. Yeah, they have to be a super fan. They have to be a one clicker. Somebody who knows your world that you built better than you, you know?
yes,
So, and will call you out. I'm like, no, no,
yeah,
no, no, no. Her hair
yeah,
was red. Her hair
yeah,
was red in the first book, not
yeah.
brown. Did she
Or
color it
like,
somewhere? If she did, you got to tell
that's
me,
all
you
the
know?
action you're gonna show us, please, woman.
I actually had that happen to me with Hunter's Blood and Twice Cursed, because I described my character Lily in book one, well, the prequel, as having long, dark, chestnutty type hair, and then in book two, she was a honey blonde, And one of my alpha readers looked at me and went, "What? What do you mean she's an alpha? What do you mean she's a honey blonde? You're a
We
honey
have
blonde.
a
Did you
lot
change
of
your hair?"
characters in our head at once. It's hard to remember all this stuff. So that's why the super fan who knows
Yeah.
that we're better than this.
So I had to write in a little bit. Oh yes, I like my new hair color, and my and the male MC liked it too because she had a girls' day out and changed her hair. So I mean, it was just a
Oh,
paragraph, but it
right.
explained it. It made that alpha reader exhale. I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, I swear, if we back in the day we didn't have Zoom, but I swear if I saw her shoulders would probably be at her
Yeah.
ears, going, "What did you do? Why? That doesn't." So,
Yeah.
and to us as authors, that might seem like minutia, but
Mm.
it's something that will stick in a reader's craw and be like,
It'll take them out of the story, and
"Yes,
then we don't want
exactly.
that. We
Th-
want you submerged fully, forgetting
Yep.
the outside world. We want to
Yes.
capture your attention. We don't want anything. So, and an alpha reader is great at stuff like that. Things that
Yes.
are completely wonky, or usually if I'm using an alpha reader, it's probably like a second or third draft. Like it's not completely done yet, but I feel less vulnerable about that draft for me, and I can ask this reader, did was there enough of of this? Did you want more of this? Was whatever it is that I'm wondering, did I hit enough? They can
Yes.
sort of help me figure out if I've succeeded, or if I need to go back and do a little bit more work.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, an editor can do that for you too. Like we were talking before we
yeah.
started recording, that a good editor will do that. I mean, I just had with the Siren's Mate. It was like all of a sudden they were, they both had feelings for each other, but then they take a cab ride, and then the next chapter opens up, and they're already kind of, all over each other. And she's like, "When did this happen? Wait a minute, when did this
Yeah.
happen?" So
Well, it
I
also
had to,
depends on the type of editor that you're
yeah,
hiring. If you're hiring somebody who's just doing line edits, that's not in their perimeter to look for.
no,
So
no,
you
it's
got to be
not,
careful. You can't just assume that your editor's going to catch everything. If you want to
no,
be, that's where these readers come in handy. They
right.
help you figure this stuff out so that maybe you cannot spend quite as much on an editor that does the content
I mean,
edits. And
I had a very, I mean, I have a really good relationship with my editor. So when I wrote this, because I was writing it so fast, it's the Sirens Me, and you know, it was supposed to be only 35,000 word long novella, and it turned out to be, almost 60,000 words. So, I sent her an email saying, "Here it is, have at it. Don't ask me what I wrote. I have no idea." So, because it just, I wrote it so fast. So, and I
yeah,
said to her, "This is going to need probably a second or a third pass because I know there's going to be issues where things don't line up, and I need your eyes and as you're paying attention reading to tell me what doesn't line up." So, if I had the time, since I'm writing these books at breakneck speed because I need 3 of them done by the end of June, and 2 are done, and this is the third one that I'm writing, I would have had an alpha reader be able to tell me that.
yeah,
So, if you have the chance to be really develop it, then please go ahead and do that. Have and this is something you and I discussed also, is what do we give these alpha
yeah.
readers? But um, let's talk a little bit more of the other different kinds of readers, then we
Sure,
can circle back to that, the
sure,
reward
sure.
system.
Right, right. So probably the next logical one would be a beta reader, and
Right.
sometimes some authors will use beta and alpha readers sort of interchangeably.
Yeah.
For me, they are a little bit different. A beta reader is when I think I'm as done with it as I'm gonna. It's before I send it to the editor. I've got what I've got, and here, take a look at it, see if you see anything else that I need to add, because it's going to the editor next month or whatever. And if they come back with feedback and like,
Or
"Oh,
tomorrow.
okay, I need to get this done now so that it's all clean for the editor." That's what I'll use a beta reader for. Now, there's not always time to do a
No.
beta reader. It all depends on what your release schedule is, and we'll touch on that in a bit too.
I
But
mean, beta readers for me, because I did have a beta reader group. Beta readers for me are interchangeable with advanced release copy ARC
okay,
readers. That is my definition. Other
okay,
people have their own
yep,
definition, but for me, those are the ones I use interchangeably. An alpha reader will be part of my team to while I'm crafting, you
Gotcha.
know, an earlier draft, like you said. But when something is polished enough to want to go to the editor, and I just want to have reader's eyes on it to tell me, does this sound like me? Does it follow the path of the other? Does it pick up, the same feel as the other books in the series? Or if it's a new series for, book one in the series, will it, does it hit the mark with you as a reader, as one of my readers? Would you buy this book, type of a thing?
Yeah.
And the other thing I use the ARC readers and, slash beta readers for is to have reviews
Sure.
ready to go up, you know.
Right.
And yes, they will have to say that they were given they're writing this, they were given the book
Right.
to read. This is, for an honest review.
Yeah.
So that could get a little tricky sometimes because, people think it's quid pro quo, that type
Right.
of thing. But when the beta reader is given a book, that is basically ready to be published, ready to hit the button to be published, it's because you trust them that they're going to do their job, which is read it, give you honest feedback about the 99.9% finished product, and that they will craft a review so that when the book is released, those reviews can go up right away. Because we all know that the more reviews you get, the higher your ranking, the more Amazon and the other distribution channels will show your
It's a
books.
necessary evil for sure. Yeah, but see, I guess for me, the arcs for me are after it's come back from the editor. For me, an arc is that is the final copy that I'm going to upload. So my arc readers, what I have them look for primarily is, do you see any typo or formatting issue? Those are the things I want you to be looking at, because at this point it's too late for me to really make content edits if I'm that close to hitting the publish button. So my arc readers are, this is it. But should you find a complete wrong typo, or if you see that the chapter heading is, 10 sizes too big, I want to know that. So for me, an arc reader is, it's polished, it's ready, it's edited. I'm gonna hit the button unless you see something.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's, like I use them interchangeably for that. You know what I mean? So
And again, it
because
depends on when you have time to do it. You might only have time to do an arc read because you have to upload this manuscript in a couple of weeks and you need your arc readers to read it right this second. So there might
right
not be time for them to give you feedback on content. They might only have time to look for
now, the
because.
the only other thing that I know that people have done that will draw the line between ARC reader and beta reader is they will have beta readers do chapter by chapter, where they
Mhm.
will actually send
Yeah.
one chapter, a week, and have their beta readers each read it. Then the beta readers can meet amongst themselves and then discuss the book, and then come back to you once a week
Sure.
for you to say what was wrong with this chapter, or what they would want you to see, and so forth. Again, alpha readers too will do that. I think it's probably better to have your alpha readers do that than your beta readers. It really depends on what you want to call them,
Right.
and what you
Right.
what you
None
look
of
to get
these are
out of them.
hard and fast definitions. These are just sort of vague ways that authors use them.
Now,
Every author will use them a little differently.
the alpha readers that are your one clickers, they, they will write their review whether you want them to or not. They're just going to do it,
Yeah,
or they'll leave you a
yeah,
ranking
yeah.
anyway. The problem I've had in the past with ARC readers and beta readers is, as opposed to the alpha readers. You got
Mhm.
to put the alpha readers in a separate. They go on a pedestal because they're
They
your
do.
super fans. Okay,
They do. Yeah.
but your beta readers and your alpha readers, I'm sorry, your beta readers and your ARC readers, is that people don't follow through with what they say they're going to do. And I actually have an author friend of mine who has them fill out a questionnaire when they
Mhm.
want to join the ARC team. They
Yeah.
understand, they have to write that they understand what their responsibilities
Yeah.
are, and they're given like a three strike type of a thing. If you're given the book to ARC, to read, an ARC reader or a beta reader, and you don't fulfill what you're supposed to do, which is like writing your review, posting about it on social media, um, taking the book and saying, "Hey, I just ARC read this book; it's fabulous," and put it in your reader groups that you belong to. It's a way to be able to foster second secondary promo
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
where it's not coming from you. You're not spamming the group, but one of the
Right.
what an actual reader
Word of mouth. Yeah,
is
it's a
going.
word of
Yes,
mouth thing. Yeah. Yeah, I
exactly.
have a form that I use for my ARC readers, and I keep tabs on it. I will check to see who is, and I don't require that they have to. I say it would be great. It would be super awesome if you could, and if you didn't like the book, you don't have to leave a review if you don't want to. It's up to you.
No,
But I'll
the,
keep tabs to see who's
who's doing
following through, and if
right.
somebody is consistently like signing up but not they don't get the next book. I keep
Well,
tabs. So yeah.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not a matter of like you're not giving them the book. They're not doing this so that they get the free book. That they're
Right.
doing it because they want to belong to the group. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Well,
that's
they
how
want to
you
help support you,
right.
and they like your writing, and they want to
So
see it before anybody else. And so
and could you
it's a scratch my back, scratch my back. I'll scratch your back. I'll give you a fun read. You let me know if you liked it.
yeah. The other thing is that there are some people who have a point system. I
Mhm.
have an author friend of mine that has a very strong arc group, and for they all get the book on the same day, and when they post their if they post a review on the release day, they all get a certain amount of points for posting it. If they post one on Amazon, if they post one on Goodreads, if you're wide, if they do it on on all the other distribution channel sites, or if they put up the review in a book club, or in various groups on Facebook and so forth. So the point system, and then it's almost like remember when we were kids, you used to go to the arcade and used to get those
The
tickets,
tickets.
and you used to have to go and you could redeem the tickets for things.
Yeah.
Well, this
Yeah.
is what they can redeem their
Yeah.
points for things. They can redeem their points for signed
That has got to
paperbacks.
be a full time writer who does that point system, because
Yeah.
that's a lot of
Yes.
maintenance to have to do.
Yeah.
I'm not quite to that extent because the
Well,
day job sucks away too much time, but it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad
no.
idea if you've got the time to do it.
And it's
It's
a lot of things
incentive.
like people have like leftover swag that they have from
Sure.
different conventions, and they'll put like a mix and match of different things, pins and
Yeah,
magnets and
I've done that
pens
before. Sent swag
and so
out
forth.
to
And
art.
then
Yeah.
that's something, if you get a certain amount of points, this is it, you get a swag pack and you mail it out and you can mix it up, and that way. I have a friend of mine who does it with t-shirts and tank tops and sweatshirts, and that she does, and so that if you're but you that would be somebody who's a higher echelon
Yeah, you
producer,
you've yeah, you've gotta be making a little bit of money and, have the, ability to do something like that. But if you're just starting
So,
out, you can keep a simple spreadsheet. You can
yeah,
just kinda say, "Oh, this person actually posted on Amazon, or they posted on Goodreads, or they shared on social media," or, I don't care where you're posting about it. Obviously, Amazon is best for
right,
readers,
right,
for authors, but not everybody has an Amazon account that they're spending $50 a month on to maintain, to be able to give the privilege of leaving a review, or they are connected to you in some way, and therefore they cannot review for you. But they could leave a review on Goodreads, they could post on Facebook, "Hey, I just read this great book." Any of that is really helpful for a new release,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
any amount of eyeballs is.
Now, the dreaded dun dun dun
Uh-oh.
treasure hunter,
Ah, yes. Yes.
the dreaded
So
treasure
yeah.
hunter.
So a treasure hunter to me is somebody who's signing up just for the free book, and
Has
they
no
disappear, they
intention.
ghost, they never ever leave a review, they never interact, they just want the freebie book, and who knows, they might be taking it and putting it on a pirate
Pirating it.
ship, or
Yeah.
you don't know. So I mean, it's a real danger. So ARC readers, in my opinion, really should be kind of vetting
Should
them a little bit, and
yeah.
making sure that these are people that aren't going to necessarily, throw your book out on a pirating site, because that doesn't help you at all.
Yeah. You're not gonna put an ad up on Craigslist, for ARC readers. You're not gonna go on TikTok and say, "Hey, who wants to be an ARC reader?" Because
Well, an author recently did that. She gave away like 600 ARC copies, and I mean, it's a game plan. It's a game plan. It I think it worked for her. So I mean, who's to say? Who's to say works and what doesn't. So you sort of have to find your own sort of line in the sand of,
I get it. I
you
mean, and
know,
I just uploaded Siren's Mate last week, and it's funny because then I got a Google alert with free EPUB, PDF of the Sirens Mate, and I'm thinking to myself, it hasn't even been up for 24 hours yet.
yeah,
How the hell?
yeah.
This has to be somebody in Amazon because I hadn't had any sales yet. I hadn't had any page reads yet. It hadn't had a chance to even populate. So, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? And I made the mistake. I made the mistake. Hangs the head in shame. I clicked, and it was
It's
a
like a spam.
not even so much a spam. It was malware.
Oh,
So you got to be careful. You know, and it's like I don't know. I think they play with your emotions with that. That you're
yeah.
like, oh my god, it's freaking pirated. It's not even 24 hours old. But
But you know what? That means you've made it.
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So anyway, but
Yeah. So I guess what would for you would, I mean, we've discussed what would sort of make the ideal critique partner. Somebody who is that sort of your genre, a peer, who's going to be able to give you some good feedback about your manuscript. What would make a good alpha read? I guess we just decided was like a mega fan.
yeah, super
A
fan.
beta reader. Who would make an ideal sort of beta reader for you?
People who are active in your reader group that might not necessarily buy everything. They're not one clickers, but they're active in your reader group. People who open your newsletter. You
Who
could
read in your genre? I mean,
right. Yep.
eh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, if you have people who open your newsletter and read your newsletter, but they don't always click, they might make a good beta reader because they're opening your newsletter. So they're interested in what you have to say. So maybe they're short on cash, maybe they're short on time, but they might like the idea of you giving them a book and you can say this is, would you could reach out to them via their email address because you have their email address because they open your newsletter and say, "Hey, I've noticed that you open my newsletter all the time. You know, I so appreciate you. Would you like to be a beta reader?" And that would mean you would get a free copy of the book, but you would have to there are certain things that I would expect you to do, and they'll either say yes or no. And life does get in the way, so you can't just you can't be like Robespierre with off with their heads the minute that they they
Well,
don't
it's
do what
hard
they're
too
supposed
because
to
with a
do.
beta read, you have a certain amount of time that they have to read it in, right? So it's not just a, oh, I'll read this book when I have the time to. There's usually
A time frame,
a pretty tight time frame. Could
right?
be a month, couple weeks, week. I mean, it depends on what the author's turnaround time is, and people might just not have the time to do that, or they might sign up and be like, yeah, I can do this, but then life gets in the
In the way,
way. The beta readers that reach out to me, because I'll send reminders, when things are due, like we got another week to read this or whatever. If they reach out to me and say, you know what, life really just got, I still want to read it, but I might not be able to get the review up when you want it to. That person is still gonna
right?
get the next,
Communication.
community. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's something that you said. What do I look for in an ideal beta reader? With that, and even with my alpha readers, it's communication.
yeah.
I don't expect my alpha readers to just tell me, "Oh my God!" I don't expect fawning. I don't
Right,
expect them to say, "Oh, you're so wonderful. Oh, you're so pretty.
an
Oh, your
arc
books are
reader
so
can
well."
do that. An arc reader can do that. An arc reader can say all that flowery stuff in their review, but an
I
alpha
want
reader is pointing out the bad stuff.
right, right. You have to put on your black pointy hat. And you have to tell me what's going on,
Yeah.
and hope I don't turn you into a frog.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Okay, so now we've talked about all these types of different types of readers. I can't think of any others off the top of my head that I would
no,
use. Is Do you need all of them as an author? Like, if there's a new author listening and like, oh my god, do I have to find all these readers? Do
no,
you need all of them?
no, you
No.
don't. You don't. Um, First of all, it would be like having a staff that you have to maintain. You'd have to get a PA just to keep track of everything. If you have the one clickers, your super fans being your alpha readers, and then you're gonna have a group of beta readers, and then after that, you're gonna have to get arc readers. Forget it. I mean, and you can't have somebody who's already read the book and giving you critiques. You can't go back to them and say, Could you read it again? You don't want to do that either. You know, you want to, because then it becomes a drudge, and you don't want to have this become a drudge. You want to keep it fun, because you keep it fun and you give them little rewards. Then your readers are like, hey, this is cool. I want to do this. And readers love time with their authors, especially if they're fans. They love the FaceTime with you. And I don't mean actual FaceTime. I mean, they love that you know them by name, that they have your email, that they can go back and forth with you about your books. It gives them they know that they have a special place in your author world, and it gives them bragging rights. Oh, I'm friends with so and so, and
Yeah,
I was able to read their book ahead of time. They rely on me,
yeah.
so it's
And
a
it's true, we do.
yeah, yeah. So
They're not just
and
blowing smoke. They
no,
they do.
I know, and it's so I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be a
Right,
brat
no, I know.
about it either. I mean, I'm just saying I know that readers absolutely love
Mhm.
to be an integral part of your life, because you are an integral part of theirs with your stories. They feel like they know you. So this gives a special elite group of people access to a peek behind the curtain as to what goes on in an author's life. And
Yeah.
that's something that not everybody has. And then the more success you have, don't give up your alpha readers. And if you have a really good ARC team, don't give them up.
Mhm.
May have to weed them out. You may have to say, okay, chop, chop, ladies, let's go. Come on, we have to get stuff
Right.
done every once in a while. But, if you have people who are loyal to you, you have to be loyal to them
They
as
are
well.
worth their weight in gold.
They are.
Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
are.
So that said, of the different types of readers, is there one that if you could only have one for a release, like there's only time to have one type of reader, what one would like be an absolute for you?
Oh. See, because I can't put a critique partner in that same group. So if you could have a critique partner, get a critique partner,
Yeah.
somebody that you trust, somebody
That's
that
pretty important
knows the
too.
industry, knows writing, knows your genre.
Mhm.
But in terms of alpha, beta, and arc reader, I would say alpha. Those
Yeah.
are the ones that I would want, the alpha reader, because an alpha reader can do the job of a beta reader or an arc reader, but not vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a beta reader, they'll know your books. An arc reader is somebody who maybe has read some of your books,
Yeah.
but they maybe don't know your world better than you do. Where your
Yeah.
alpha reader will, they will
Yeah.
know your world better than you do.
And they will talk about your book whether you ask them to or not,
I
which
know.
is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because authors, we're not so good at asking people to talk about our book or share our book. We're not the best at promoting ourselves. So
Well, some
we
people are.
kind of
I'm
I'm
not.
not me.
I
I'm
would,
not great at it.
I'm
I
like,
am not great at it. So I
can,
wanted to circle back to something we talked about a little bit before. Well, actually, a couple of points that we talked about before. One, how do you compensate your readers, or do you compensate your readers? Is it just something that they do out of the kindness of their heart? Do you give them something in return? Is something expected, or is it, you know what, you've given me this reading experience which I'm going to treasure, thank you so much, of course I will give you a review in exchange, and that's it, all done.
no. At least not for me. Some authors, I can't speak for them. They
Right.
might say, "I've given you my book. You've got my book for free." And you read it. And yeah, you gave me feedback, and I've given you a reader experience, but and you have access to me. That should be enough. I don't look at it that way. I don't have that big of an ego where access to me and being able to read my books is enough of a reward. You
Yeah.
know, I don't ever like to feel like I'm taking anybody for granted. So in my in my respect, when it comes to having alpha readers, you have to have some kind of a reward system, whether it's that they get access to unpublished material, they get access to chapters that nobody else has yet, and that they're going to be the ones who get it first, you know, or that they're the ones who are going to help you name a character, or you're going to name a character after them,
Or you're going to put them in
or
your, thank yous, your acknowledgments,
right,
your
that type of a
dedications. You
thing.
can put all of that stuff.
um they get swag, whether it's little leftover swag that you have that you're putting together, or if you have specific swag that's made for your alpha group. You know, when I started back in the day, I had readers that were my one clickers. And as a brand new author, I ordered um, Got Blood, sweatshirts that had a vampire teeth on them and a drip of blood down the side, but it was in black on a red sweatshirt, and I sent them to my alpha readers. And if, every once in a while, one of them will take a picture of themselves in it and they'll put it on Facebook and say, "Look what I found in my drawer." It's because that was a thank you for them when they had helped me go through 3 books in the Cursed by Blood series. So,
Well, here's something. I mean, you can also give away paperbacks and things like that too. But here's
yes.
another thing for, especially for new authors, consider the cost of what this is going to financially cost you too. I don't think either one of us are suggesting go out and buy 100
Oh, no, no, no,
sweatshirts.
no.
And you've got to be looking at your budget, what's realistic for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
You might not be able to give them physically anything outside of a thank you or a mention on social media that you thank them for their service, or whatever it is.
Right,
you know
acknowledgement.
it
Right,
doesn't cost you anything to have an acknowledgement page thanking their readers, and then they get to see their name in print. Small things like that you can do that aren't going to be a huge financial burden, but if you have the means, sure, spoil them right, because
also
they're
be
they're worth it.
it could also be as, excuse me, as simple as buying a box of thank you cards at the dollar store, and
And
then
writing, yeah.
ordering, like, stickers from Sticker Mule when they have their sale that you can get 50
You could
stickers for
make
10
your own
bucks
stickers with
with a
some
cricket.
Avery labels, even
Yeah,
Avery labels. You
yeah,
could design something, or even just a handwritten thank you card without
right,
anything in it. Just something from you personally,
right.
thanking them for taking the time
Sending it
out.
out to them. Yeah,
I
you can
mean,
even print out a couple, if you've got a printer at home, you can print out a couple of character interviews, fun things that they wouldn't normally get,
right.
and you could say, "Hey, um, like with me, with my vampire Carlos, I could say, "Hey, I was talking to Carlos about you yesterday, and this is what he had to say." And I could, create the conversation in my head about them. We're talking to one of my characters about them, or whatever their favorite character is in your group, in your
Sure.
book. You know,
Lots of different ways you can do something inexpensively, that isn't going to either be cost prohibitive or time prohibitive. I mean, you can get creative with it, but it's important that these particular readers are that special, and
right,
every author really needs to have some group of readers, whether that's critique partners, whether that's alpha readers, whether that's beta or arc readers. You
right,
need those readers before it goes out to help make it the best manuscript that you can put out there. So
right.
it's vitally important.
And
And
this is not in lieu of editing.
no, no,
So
no,
don't get we're not
no,
saying that at all.
no,
This
no,
is
no,
in
no.
addition
Yeah.
to
In addition to,
editing.
and a lot of times prior to editing. Yeah. Editing is not,
It's its
just
own
because you have
animal.
all these readers doesn't mean you can skip the editor. Please
No,
don't.
no.
Please don't. Not
So
only will readers ding you for it, but Amazon will ding you for it and
yeah,
will take your content down. So
yes.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't
The
do
other
it.
thing is that when we were talking about, like, me writing at breakneck speed,
Mm,
okay? I started writing um the book that was is going to be released in about 10 days, for Robin Peterman's Magic and Mayhem series.
mhm.
It's called Witch Upon a Star. I wrote word one of that on April 16th, and I was finished with it by the end of the month, by the end of April. And then I had to pick up The Siren's Mate that I had only about 15,000 words written already in it, and I had to finish that one. And we already said that one went to almost 60,000 words, and I finished that May 22nd. And then I had to do Jeepers Reapers 2, which I'm still, you know, going back and forth with, with brainstorming and and kind of a critique partner, because I don't have the time to actually sit and let the work marinate for itself. So
Yeah.
I'm hitting up people that I know, my creatives that I know, going, "Hey, what do you think about this idea? And hashing it out and then typing away like at breakneck speed, because that has to be done by the end of it has to be done by June 20th. It has to go to the editor by June 20th. So time management is
Yes.
some do not do this at home.
Yeah.
Okay. Like the disclaimer, do
No.
not do not do what I
Yeah.
do what I say. Okay,
Right.
which is build in time.
Well, do what I do.
Yes. Not me, not me,
So
not me.
this is a good segue because I'm actually writing a series of a sort of a rapid for me series, the where you left me series. Volume one is out, volume two is out, volume three is going to the editor in a week or so, and I'm writing volume four. Volume five will come shortly. But I planned this out so that I would know I would have this much time to write it. I would have this much time for, ARC readers. There was no time for beta readers here. There was no time for betas if you're trying to do a rapid release. There's just no time. But I did have to make sure that I need this to the editor a month. It has to be ready a month before the book is ready, so that there's time for the beta readers to actually alpha readers. No, ARC readers, ARC readers to read it before it actually hits published. So it's a lot of planning and strategizing if you want to make sure you actually have time for these things to be read and feedback given.
Realized. Yes, yes.
You
Yes,
do
so
have to
don't
plan it
so
out.
do as she says, not as I do. That's, you know, actually, it's. I always say this all the time, and our other colleague that's part of our mod pod here is, Tina Moss, and Tina and I are we're both cut from the same cloth. We call it hostage deadlines, and
Mhm.
that's exactly what we do, and we do it to ourselves all the
You do.
time.
And every
So
time you say never again.
and then look, here we go. So 3 books from from April 6th, actually from the beginning, from April 1st
Oh,
until June 20th. Three three
oh,
three books.
I can't even
So
imagine. That would make my brain bleed. It would make
so
my brain bleed. I'm having a
yeah,
hard enough time like looking over my final draft of a volume 3 and a first draft of a volume 4 sort of like side by side because they're so close and it's just like this hurts. So I'm not sure I'll ever do a series like this unless I've already written it and planned it out. Like I had it all outlined, but I think I would want to write more in advance if I were to do a series like this again to have some more because it's a lot of braining and
yeah, it
it's
is
a
a lot
lot
of
of
braining.
thinking and
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I think we've actually done a pretty good job of discussing the different types of readers. I'd be curious to know what if there are authors that are listening or watching what types of readers they really love or
yeah,
really find useful, or if we've forgotten a type of reader that you use and implement. I'd love to know more about that.
absolutely. And I had a thought, and it went
It
away.
went away.
Oh, the other this here, it's
Yes,
back. It's back.
it's
Um,
back.
the other thing that your alpha readers, because they know your world better than you,
Mm.
is you can ask them to put together a world Bible for you.
If you have a really good reader, you know what I really need? I don't need necessarily a world Bible because I write
or
contemporary.
or a character Bible.
Yeah, I need like a name Bible. Like, who have I already used this character? Because I did it already in this one. I'm like, oh my god, I have already used this, and it's already published. I can't change the name. I'm like, I've already used that character's name already. I don't believe that. I mean, granted, it was a book that I wrote years ago, but I'm like, I can't remember these things. I
See,
need help.
I don't mind reusing a name I like if it's in a different series. That doesn't bother me.
It's
But
different, but it bugs me. It bugs
because
me.
I have because in the Sirens Mate, the main character is Jason. Okay,
It's a common
Jayson.
name, though. That's a common
Okay,
name.
and the main character calls him Jace, Jayce.
Yeah.
Now, in Taste Me, which is part of my Club Vampire, I have Jace Matthews, who's a cowboy, who is also now a vampire because he was turned, and
That's
he's
okay though.
Jace.
That's okay.
So
See, that's different. I think I
different
literally spelled the
series.
same exact spelling of this name.
Oh,
I am an idiot.
no,
Is
you're not.
really,
No, you're
really
just
what
a
it is.
you're a busy author.
I just have too many characters. I can't keep track of them anymore.
But an alpha reader, a good alpha reader will be able to
We'll
help
know.
you put together a Bible, whichever kind of Bible you need, whether
Yeah.
it's a character
I need
Bible,
a
a
character
name
Bible.
Bible, a physical attribute Bible that can go under character, and a world Bible or all of the above, and that's something if somebody goes to that trouble to do that, that is something that requires a big thank you.
That
That is
somebody
something
would
you
get
have
me
to
an entire collection of the books signed. Here you go.
yeah. Yes.
You get them all.
That requires a big thank you. And if any of my readers happen to be looking at this and you want to help out and put together a character Bible for me, I will reward you big time. So
Yeah.
contact
It's
me.
amazing how little time we actually have to do some of these things that we really should do. But
Anyway,
all right,
we did it.
we
It's
did.
done.
I think that does it for us. Thank you for watching Bound by Books. We will see you back here next week. Until then, bye bye.
Bye bye. Happy reading.
Wait! Before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check us out on our website, boundbybookspodcast.com.